I want to take a moment to talk about the killing of Renee Good in Minneapolis a few days ago. The whole issue is really one that's been supercharged on both sides of the aisle. And the thing that bothers me most right now is, of course, the loss of life. Renee Good's spouse is now widowed. Her kids are now orphaned, and that should be our top concern. The secondary concern, which is terrifically important too, is that the family of Renee Good deserves justice, and we need answers. We need answers about whether the killing was justified or not justified. And there are those that are quick to pass judgment about whether the shooting was justified or not. And I think that's a significant concern right now, significant issue for me, especially from an administration that doesn't seem to understand that the rule of law is something that every American should take very, very seriously, and that the Constitution guarantees due process, both for victims and for the accused. I'm concerned that the FBI has been shutting out the Minnesota State Department of Justice from any investigation. And the way I see it playing out is just like this, and this is just my opinion. I think that the Minnesota Attorney General should open a wrongful death investigation to determine exactly what happened and should have access to all the evidence that was collected at the scene, all the ballistics reports, all the videos that have been circulating widely should be added to evidence. But we should also know a lot more about the officer involved in the shooting. What was his background? What was his work history? What was his mental state at the time? What was his training? What was the training of all of the other officers that were there? What communications happened after the shooting between him and his supervisors, and between the supervisors and leadership at DHS and the FBI and the Department of Justice? There's a lot that we have to get through, and a lot of evidence needs to be collected. And I think that while the FBI certainly has a role in doing that, in any shooting involving law enforcement, it's very, very typical for another jurisdiction to take over. And I can't think of a better jurisdiction than the Minnesota Department of Justice. They should absolutely open that investigation. And if need be, they should subpoena all of the evidence that the FBI has collected. Hopefully, that will be enough to get the ball rolling on justice that the Good family deserves. If not, and if the FBI were to stonewall the investigation, then I think it escalates to a point that we need to be prepared for. And that means that there will be accountability through the legal justice system and following due process to make sure that all the evidence is turned over. If there is a legally binding subpoena for that evidence, and if there are those inside of the FBI or the DHS or Homeland Security or any other government agency that blocks access to that, that is clearly obstructing an official investigation. And there are consequences for that, not in federal court, but in state court. And if there were to be an effort to block access to that information and to obstruct justice, then it really escalates fast. And escalating it means getting an indictment for obstruction of justice against anyone involved in failing to turn over that information or to cooperate with state officials. That includes the shooter. That includes people on his team. That includes leadership. That includes supervisors, but it also includes leadership all the way up the chain of command. No one is above the law, and the Constitution guarantees due process for the victim and due process for the accused. And I think that there is absolutely a justification for making sure that the wheels of justice, they'll spin slowly, but there's absolutely a role for the state of Minnesota to play in an investigation. Again, we need justice. We need justice for the Good family, and we also need to respect the rights of the accused in this particular case as well. From a correct congressional standpoint, Congress can do a lot. Congress can pass a resolution requiring the FBI to cooperate with the Minnesota Department of Justice in this investigation. I think that there is a lot that Congress can be doing, Congress should be doing to hold federal officers accountable. And regardless of whether you are a Republican or a Democrat, conservative or progressive, the rule of law is the thing that separates us from two-bit dictatorships. It's what separates us from chaos. It's the birthright of all of us The Constitution guarantees due process. And in this particular case, I think due process has to be followed. And whatever happens, happens. If a grand jury passes indictments, so be it. That starts the process going. If a grand jury finds indictments for obstruction of justice or for any criminal activity in the killing, then so be it. That gets the wheels of justice spinning. But for President Trump and J.D. Vance and Kristi Noem and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi to already be tainting the jury pool and already be declaring without a jury trial that this person is innocent, I think flies in the face of due process. To them, I would say, stay in your lane. You don't have a right to be the judge, the jury, and in this case, to fulfill justice just at a whim. We have to follow a process. And as your next congressman, I will absolutely take an oath to uphold the Constitution in all of its forms and to make sure that justice is blindly applied to anyone at any level of government, whether you are on the left or the right, it doesn't matter. Thanks.